Hi, thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South, Summer Celebration Lawn and Gardening Show at the West Tennessee Research and Education Center over in Jackson is a one-day adventure for gardening enthusiasts. Today, we're going to give you a preview of Summer Celebration, including a cooking demonstration with this year's featured food, grapes. And Mr. D is here with advice on how to deal with pests and diseases that may be attacking your pecan trees. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South, so stay with us.
This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Dr. Amy Eliza. Amy is the UT Extension Director in Madison County, and Mr. D is here today. Thanks
Howdy.
for joining me.
Glad to be here.
All right, Doc. Summer Celebration is coming up.
It's almost here, Chris.
It's almost here, so for our viewers, where is it? When is it? And I understand that there will be cooking demonstrations.
Yes, there will. Those have become a big favorite of a lot of
Okay.
people. Although plants and talking about
Sure.
plants is the focus of Summer Celebration. It's coming up Thursday, July the 10th,
Okay.
always the second Thursday of
Second
July.
Thursday.
That's something everybody can always kind of remember.
Okay.
So it starts about 10, runs till about 6 o'clock or a little bit later than that, just for touring and looking
Okay.
at all the things they have going on out there.
Okay. Are you looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it. It's always a thing that I get excited about.
I do
And being in Jackson, I get to watch them start to prepare and get everything ready for it. And that's a lot of fun. I was just out by the station on Monday and got to see the wine bottle wall going up.
Okay.
Really kind of interesting to see what they did there. But lots of plantings going
Okay.
on, getting set up. So
Yeah, Jason Reeves is probably decorating the place with the
he
wine
has got-
bottles and things like that.
Yes, they've done
He does
all
a good
kinds of
job.
things. He does. He was on television talking about it last night in Jackson. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Pretty
lots
good.
going on. Lots
Okay.
going on.
Well, look, I know the cooking demonstrations are popular, so what will you be preparing for us today?
Okay, today I'm going to be doing wild rice with grapes because our theme for the Kitchen Divas is cooking from the vine, and we're going to be doing
Okay.
grapes,
Okay.
wine, and raisins. So that particular
Grapes,
wine,
Mr.
and-
D,
Yes,
and raisins.
and-
What
yes,
about that?
because we're going with Jason's theme, the wine bottles
Okay.
that he's decorating with. So he kind of suggested that, and so we decided to go that. But we wanted to use a lot of different things, not just the wine. So that's what we're doing. I'm actually doing wild rice
Okay.
with grapes.
With grapes.
And I've kind of become the kitchen diva that's known for doing healthy things.
Okay.
We do healthy things. But my healthy thing, a lot of times people say if it's healthy, if it's good for you, it doesn't taste
tastes
good.
right.
Well, you all like the aroma, I think, already.
I do.
So,
No doubt.
but my
I
thing
do.
is, I want them to be healthy, but I want them to taste great.
Okay.
So that's what I really focus on. We've got all kinds of things. We've got kid-friendly recipes, some that might not be the most healthful for us, but
Okay.
they taste great just the
Okay.
same.
And I do like the Kitchen Divas.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Thank
I
you.
came up
But
with
you
that. That's
know,
pretty nice.
well, it's kind of fun because everybody started loving our program so much
Okay.
that when we
can see
leave the area to go and take a little break, they'd be, here they come, here they come. And so it was like for one day of the year, we were superstars. So we
y'all are good.
We enjoy it. We're not about ourselves as the diva thing might connote, but we have fun with it.
I can
People
tell.
love it. People
All right.
love it. So we enjoy it. It makes our jobs fun.
Well, good.
Yes.
All right, so let's.
no reality TV show.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
All right, let's get with it.
Okay.
Let's get
All
started
right.
here.
So to start this recipe, you take a little bit of butter now, and you're going to saute brown some sliced almonds. I've already done that.
Okay.
Got that
Okay.
going for us. That's going to be kind of a topping, a savory addition to this particular dish. What I've done here is I've melted some more butter, and I have browned some green onions. Okay. And you can go with more or less. We have a specific recipe, but for recipes like this, they're kind of a guideline.
Okay.
They're a guideline to use. You could do more or less. So what I've done here with that is they've been sauteing for a little bit, but I wanted to say a little bit about using butter, because you know, people are concerned, do we use butter or should we use margarine? What should we do there?
Okay.
And so I've used butter here because it does give a great flavor to this dish. And butter is one of those things that it has a saturated fat, but the margarine can have trans fat, and that has the same effect on our body. It sees it kind of the same. You could also use olive oil if you want to in this. Some people would prefer that, maybe. That's okay. Each gives their own flavor, so either one is fine, but I used butter for this one.
Butter,
So,
okay.
Butter, yeah, butter's awesome. And so that's what we start with. And what I wanted to do is add just a little bit of cracked pepper, and again, this is something you can put as much or as little as you want. Now the recipe calls for salt. I don't add a lot of extra salt because there's so much flavor here already. We're going to do just a little bit, just a little, because it does tend to enhance the flavor. But you know what I wanted to do with this is sometimes I think we use so much salt it covers up the natural flavor of the food, so we don't want to do that. Now I've already prepared our rice, and so this recipe is a great way to use up your rice, your leftover rice. Now this is a wild rice, so it's got added fiber over some of your other rices that you can use. So we've got lots of that. Now you can buy packages of wild rice. This was cooked, but we didn't use the package that comes with that. So we don't have the sodium from that, so it's just strictly the rice. So we're kind of just heating this up. Otherwise, this would be cooking in some chicken broth, But because we don't have an hour here on the show today, we're kind of cutting this little corner. So we'll pretend like that, you know, an hour has passed. This is cooked down. This is the magic of television, really, really, really. Now the recipe calls for about a cup of halved red and green grapes. Obviously you can use one or the other. It doesn't have to be either, both of them. And you can use as many of these as you want. I am actually using about double what the recipe calls for, because so many times, you know, we get plenty of carbs, we get plenty of protein, but we often don't get enough fruits and vegetables in our diets. And so we're going to turn this off. We don't really want to cook the grapes, but we do want to let them sit there and just kind of let them warm, everything to get warm. So that's your dish. Very, very simple and very colorful. And I think for summertime, it's a great addition, even though it's a dish that you can serve warm. So yeah, that's it.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah. Can you give this a shot? You ready to
Just
give it a shot, Mr. D?
I
am.
Okay.
I am.
All right. Here's a plate for you, and a fork. There you go.
Well, I like cooking demonstrations.
You like being a part of these, huh? All right.
And I like wild rice anyway.
Do you? Okay, so that's a
grapes.
good thing. There you go.
I like wild
Perfect.
rice and grapes. Thank you.
There you go. Okay, so
Let me try the grape here.
I'm getting a nod. Okay, Dr. Cooper. Getting some nods. That's a
do
good
this.
thing.
Oh, this is good.
This is good. Well, and the thing I will share with everybody about grapes is a cup of grapes is a little under 100 calories. So they're very low in calories. Great addition. This is a very low calorie type of dish to really enjoy. You know, and I'm the sort of person that I can make a meal off of that. So it's a relatively low calorie kind of thing. Grapes have lots of vitamin K, vitamin C, and we're learning more about phytochemicals in foods and the importance that they play. And it's just like, you know, technology has helped us learn more about our foods. There's a phytochemical called resveratrol that's in grapes that we're learning more and more about it having anti-aging effects. So we better eat our grapes.
So let's eat more grapes.
We're gonna have another one.
Eat more grapes. Look, before we leave, the date and time again of Summer Celebration.
Summer Celebration, July 10th. It's a Thursday at the West Tennessee Research and Education Center in Jackson, Tennessee.
All right.
There you go.
Thanks, Doc.
We'll see you there.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, thanks again, Doc. That wild rice with grapes was fabulous.
Glad you enjoyed it.
very
I think you liked it too. You just wanted a little protein added.
I cleaned my plate and I'm ready for seconds.
Okay,
That was
excellent.
Good. All right, Mr. D, let's talk about pecan diseases.
Pecan diseases.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Well, I guess probably a good place to start, one of the first things you're going to see on pecans is phylloxera. And pecan phylloxera is really not a disease. It's caused by an insect that attacks the plant at bud break.
Okay.
And so if you see, and it's swollen, nodules, knots on the leaves. There's also a stem phylloxera. There'll be growths, swollen growths on the stem, but it really looks bad. It's not going to kill the tree, but it doesn't help the tree at all.
Okay.
And the only way to control that, if you've had a history of a problem with pecan phylloxera, is to spray that tree at bud break. And that's early, real early.
It's going to be real early.
Like I said, it's too late for that right now. But if you've got the problem right now, and if the tree is small enough that you can spray it, then you can treat it with several products.
Okay.
Let me see, I think I happen to have one right here. Yeah, malathion, Merit 75 wettable powder, or Merit 2F that you can spray at bud break to control phylloxera.
Now, will those leaves fall off that have been affected?
They'll pretty much hang on there.
Hang on?
They'll hang on there, and they'll continue to photosynthesize it, to some level.
Okay.
But it's just really looks bad, and it looks like your tree's got some bad disease, but it's really not a disease. It's an insect infestation.
Okay.
Now, commercial pecan growers are going to spray their pecan trees at bud break. They'll do a pre-pollination spray, later on pollination spray, after pollination spray, and then they'll put their pecans on a regular, a cover spray interval that's about a 3-week interval, every 21 days, which is pretty spread out, when you compare that to peaches and apples and things like that. Most of them are on a 7 to 10 day spray interval. And they will have the main disease in our area and in the southeast United States is pecan scab.
Yeah.
That's the #1 disease. That's the most economically damaging disease of pecan trees. And some pecan trees are more susceptible than others to that disease. So if I were planting a pecan tree, I would make sure that I planted a variety that was resistant to pecan scab. But the fungicides there are a number of fungicides that are out there that will control pecan scab, and they also control the other diseases that pecans get. And they will also get powdery mildew, downy mildew, several other diseases that are out there. But I have a whole list of fungicides, as you're surprised.
Yeah, surprised.
that will take out and control or prevent these diseases from being a problem. And as you know, with any disease, fungicides are preventative in nature. If you have a disease present and you spray it with a fungicide, you're not going to cure that disease that you have present. So you focus on trying to prevent the disease from occurring. And in a homeowner situation, if you've got a small, precocious pecan tree that's pretty small, early maturing, you might be able to spray it from the ground with a hose-in sprayer or something like that. If you got one of the older varieties that get to 80, 100 feet tall, you need an air blast sprayer that'll blow the fungicide out through the top of the tree.
Wow.
And not many homeowners have that.
Yeah, not many.
And not many commercial producers in Tennessee. We have a few commercial producers that have that air blast sprayer.
Okay. Wow.
But Abound, Enable, Headline, Orbit, Quash, Stobrand, Stratego, Super 10, Tebuconazole, or Topsin M are fungicides,
Those are the fungicides
that are out of the commercial pecan disease control guide.
Okay.
And basically there is a first pre-pollination spray, a second pre-pollination spray, first cover spray, and only 6 cover sprays.
6?
And that'll get you through the year because you're doing it 2 to 3 weeks after.
Okay.
So almost a 21-day interval.
Well, let me ask you this. So a homeowner wants to plant a pecan tree. What are some good varieties?
You can't go wrong with Elliott.
Elliott. Okay.
Elliott
I've
is
heard you say that.
good, and it's a type 1 pecan tree, which means it's a good pollinator. Most pecan varieties are type 2 trees, which, in a nutshell, one of the types, the male structures on a pecan trees have both male and female structures on there. The male structures are called catkins. The female structures are the little nutlets. On a type 1, the male structure is ready, releases its pollen about a week before the nutlets are sticky receptive to receiving that pollen, and they are wind pollinated.
Right.
On the type 2 variety, the little female nutlet is sticky, susceptible to receiving that pollen about a week before the male catkins on that tree are releasing their pollen. So this is Mother Nature's way of preventing that tree from fertilizing itself. And it requires cross-pollination to occur. So you have to have at least one type 1 tree in the vicinity of your other type 2 trees.
Wow.
But
You see why we keep them around?
I'm amazed.
Let's
I'm
pecans.
amazed.
That was good.
they're very interesting plants to grow, and it's really hard to, the commercial pecan growers, in Mobile County we had a number, we were the second highest producing pecan county in the state of Alabama, and we'd get a good pecan crop about once every 10 years.
Once every 10 years?
Every 10 years. We had to deal with hurricanes and wind damage and diseases that we couldn't control, when a hurricane would come through, it takes years for a pecan tree that's been broken up, limbs broken out of it, for it to recover. So about one crop every 10 years, which is, if you have a wild tree in your yard or in a fence row, about once every 10 years you get a pecan crop off of it. Wow. So, now the folks that are able to do a real good job of controlling insects and diseases, and they irrigate and do all those kind of things, like some of my good friends down in Mobile County, they will get a crop more often than that. But I'm talking about on the average.
All right, here's our Q&A session.
Okay.
Doc, you just jumped right in there with us, all right?
Okay.
I know you're jumping at the bit to get one of them,
All
so
right, okay.
jump in there with us.
Okay.
All right, we have a viewer question from Joe. I want to build a patio with pavers in my backyard, but I have clay soil that holds water 3 or 4 days after a rain. Help! What should I do? He takes the glasses off.
For one thing, he needs to do is wait more than 3 or 4 days before he starts building this patio.
Yeah.
If you have a very heavy soil, you can try to improve the internal drainage of that soil by adding organic matter, or adding sand. Things like that will help improve the internal drainage of the soil. But other than that, I don't know of a whole lot else you can do. Gypsum, you can add gypsum, which will help open up the soil. So do those kind of things. And if you're talking about, if you really want to do that, improve the drainage, you probably have to go in there and till it, and mix a lot of sand
How
and
deep
a
would
lot
you
of
need
organic
to till
matter
it
in it.
down to make a difference?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty.
3-4 inches, something
Okay.
like that.
That was
to go ahead and
that
mix
was
it in
that was
there.
my
Yeah.
question.
Just get it down there.
Yeah, gotcha.
And something else too that I would suggest, because those would be my recommendations as well. Add organic material to that soil. If there's a real or a major drainage issue, I would call NRCS or your local stormwater engineer
Put
in
some
your municipality.
French drains might be.
Yeah, French drains.
And one thing you might need, I don't know how long you've lived at this house, but we've had a lot of rainfall the last 2
we
years.
have.
And another thing, you might want to double check what your soil texture really is. A lot of people in Shelby County think they have a heavy clay soil, and they don't. Most of the soil in our area is loamy soil, but if it doesn't drain well, it looks like it could be heavy clay.
Right.
And you can very simply, you can check the soil texture,
Make
get
a
you
little
some.
ribbon.
It's good wet soil, make a mud pie, and then run it between your thumb and your forefinger. And if it shoots a ribbon out about an inch, inch and a half, it's clay. If it keeps breaking off and crumbling as it comes out about 1/4 of an inch, then it's silt or sand.
Yeah.
And but check that out before you go in and do a whole lot of soil work.
All right, there you have it, Mr. Joe. Check it out first. All right. We have another viewer email from Vernon. He writes, how do you get rid of moles out of your front yard without using any chemicals or home remedies? Mr. D, what say you?
I say trap them.
Trap 'em.
And that's not using a chemical, and that's not using home remedies.
home
and,
remedy.
and actually, if you use chemicals and home remedies, I don't think you're going to get rid of your mold.
No,
So you're basically
you're not.
wasting your time.
That's right.
But I recommend, UT actually recommends using mold traps. I have the best luck with the scissors type.
Okay.
There are harpoon types. I've had one for years and years, and I have never caught one mole with a harpoon type trap. Maybe it's my trap, maybe it's me, but I caught 14
14.
moles last year.
14.
I've caught 4 this year so far. So I don't know.
It's working.
It's working.
So it's,
I will add one thing.
That's- Go ahead.
I can add one thing to this. Cat. Have a cat that's a good molar.
Jack Russell.
Oh, Jack Russell
Yeah,
Terrier.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
They will take care of those. That's also not a chemical there.
That's
Yeah, it's
right,
not a
that's
chemical.
right.
I used to have cats, and I know there are some people who don't like cats, but I never had a mole in my yard as long as I had a cat. But they were good molars. They brought them to my back door and presented them to me. So.
How about
They
that?
are.
So here
Well,
you go.
That's the only way. That is the only way you can keep a count on how many they get.
That's right. That's right. They bring and
They have to
present.
present it to you. And if you go with the home remedies and all that kind of stuff, even if you accidentally get one, you don't know whether you got it or not because it's
Yeah.
it's in the tunnel somewhere.
All right,
but,
Mr. Vernon.
But
Trap.
set your trap at an area where there's a long run
Yeah.
because that's possible. That's more than likely where they're going from feeding area back to their den. If you just set it where you see fresh feeding, they may not come back to that spot. A mole can tunnel up to 225 feet in one night, and they may not go back to that feeding area again.
All right. There you have it. Trap it. Okay. Here's our next question. What's an effective mosquito control that will not harm pollinators? Good question.
That would be the BT probably.
That would be the BT.
Bacillus thuringiensis.
It sure would be.
Yeah, there is one design, and that's if you have standing water. If you have a pond, or if you have a hardscape that has standing water in it. If you've got running water, it's not going to be a problem. But that's by far the best.
Yeah. The BT mosquito dunks. You can get that in any hardware store, big box store. They're safe.
A little bacteria that kills mosquitoes and nothing else.
Yeah, and nothing else. And it works pretty good. How long does it take mosquitoes to breed once?
Like 3 days.
I think it's 3 days. Okay.
If you have standing water,
Standing water.
in your dog food, if you water your dog, change the water every day. I change water every day. I mean, pour it out. If you have a horse and you've got a tub with water in it, out back, pour it out every day.
Start over.
And I don't even recommend using a trough for horses unless you can't go see them very often. But
Okay.
West Nile is here, and it's a problem. And use repellents, insect repellents. You're not going to control them all. I mean, we have the Mississippi River. We've got we've got
plenty
a
of
lot
water
of water out there,
Yeah,
so
plenty.
we're not going to control them all.
On
We're
top
not
of-
going to get BT everywhere it needs to be.
On top of all this rain that we've had here lately too, so yeah.
Use
There you have it.
repellents.
BT mosquito dunks will work. All right, here's our next question. My scarlet running beans have lots of blooms, but no beans. What could be the problem? So we got lots of blooms, no
I don't know.
beans.
What do you think?
This is what I think, okay? There's a couple of things going on here. Lack of pollinators could be one. So it could be insufficient pollination or no pollination at all. My second thought is this, high fertility.
Yep.
Lots of blooms, but will not
But it keeps
set
throwing them off.
beans. It throws them
Everything's
off.
going vegetative. Yeah, that's probably more than likely what the problem
Yeah.
is.
High fertility. Same thing like, think about your tomatoes for a second. If you give them a lot of fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer, you just get foliage.
That's right.
No fruit.
And you got to keep in mind, beans are don't need any nitrogen. They're
Yeah,
a legume.
legumes.
They're a legume, and if you fertilize your whole garden with a complete fertilizer like triple 13 or triple 8 or something like that, then you're giving that bean nitrogen that it doesn't need, and it's causing it to grow more.
So if somebody's been fertilizing those beans, if they stopped now fertilizing, are they going to end up with beans during the growing season? Are they?
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
4 to
maybe.
6
It's hard
weeks.
to tell.
Nitrogen will stay out there 4 to 6
Okay.
weeks.
Okay.
4, probably as much rain as we've had.
Yeah,
As much rain as
probably.
we've had. So, if they put nitrogen out there, probably a month, the nitrogen nitrogen you added is pretty much gone.
Okay. Quickly, last question. My dogwood has some type of white mold on the leaves. What is it, and how can I protect the tree? Sounds like powdery mildew
Sounds like
to
powdery
me.
mildew, it does.
Okay. Fungicides.
Fungicides, and I think I have a list of fungicides that might help with the
I bet you
powdery
one is
mildew.
Daconil.
I'll bet you one. I bet you're right.
Chlorothianil.
Here we
It's
are.
probably that one.
Chlorothalonil.
Yeah, chlorothalonil.
That's number 2 on the list.
Okay.
Azoxystrobin, chlorothalonil, copper hydroxide, copper octanoate. Oh my goodness. Cresoxamethyl, myclobutanil, paloxin D, propiconazole, pyroclastroben, which is headline,
Right.
and 4 others that I can't pronounce.
He got
Oh,
him
yeah.
out, so there you have it.
I'm impressed.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. D. Thank you, Dr. Amy.
Good to be here.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us a letter or an email with your gardening questions. Send your email to familyplot@wkno.org. The mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Chris Cooper. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us next time for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by Good Winds Landscape and Garden Center in Germantown since 1943 and continuing to offer its plants for successful gardening with 7 greenhouses and 3 acres of plants, plus comprehensive landscape services. International Paper Foundation, the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.